I have found that if you look into the lives of the kind of people you want to be like, you will find common themes. If you want to be skinny, study skinny people, and if you want to be rich, do what lots of rich people do, not what some myth-sayer says to do. The Forbes 400 is a list of the richest 400 people in America as rated by Forbes magazine. When surveyed, 75% of the Forbes 400 rich people, not your broke brother-in-law with an opinion, said the best way to build wealth is to become and stay debt-free. Walgreens, Cisco, and Harley-Davidson are run debt-free. I have met with thousands of millionaires in my years as a financial counselor, and I have never met one who said he made it all with Discover Card bonus points. They all lived on less than they made and spent only when they had cash. No payments. History also teaches us that debt wasn't always a way of life. In fact, 3 of the biggest lenders today were founded by people who hated debt. Sears now makes more money on credit than on the sale of merchandise. They are not a store, they are a lender with some stuff out front. However, in 1910, the Sears catalog stated, "Buying on credit is folly." J.C. Penney department stores make millions annually on their plastic, but their founder was nicknamed James Cash Penny because he detested the use of debt. Henry Ford thought debt was a lazy man's method to purchase items, and his philosophy was so ingrained in Ford Motor Companies that Ford didn't offer financing until 10 years after General Motors did. Now, of course, Ford Motor Credit is one of the most profitable of Ford Motors operations. The old school saw the folly of debt. The new school saw the opportunity to take advantage of the consumer with debt. You have probably heard a lot of the sub-myths which fall in line behind the big one that says, debt is a tool. So that we leave no stone unturned, let's review and debunk each of the myths spread by a culture that has officially bought the lie. Myth: if I loan money to friends or relatives, I am helping them. Truth: if I loan money to a friend or relative, the relationship will be strained or destroyed. The only relationship that would be enhanced is the kind resulting from one party being the master and the other party a servant. The old joke is that if you loan your brother-in-law $100 and he never speaks to you again, was it worth the investment? We have all experienced loaning someone money and finding an immediate distancing in the relationship. Joan called my radio show one day, complaining about how a loan had ruined her relationship with one of her best friends at work. She had loaned the lady, a broke single mum, $50 until payday. Payday came and went, and her friend, someone she used to talk to at lunch every day, someone who was her confidant and sounding board, now avoided her. Shame and guilt had entered the scene with no provocation. We don't control how debt affects relationships. Debt does that independently of what we want. The borrower is slave to the lender, and you change the spiritual dynamic of relationships when you loan loved ones money. They are no longer a friend, uncle, or child. They are now your servant. I know some of you think that is overstated, but tell me why Thanksgiving dinner tastes different when a loan has been served. Eating with your master is different from eating with your family. Joan was really torn up about losing this friendship. I asked her if the friendship was worth $50. She gushed that it was worth many times that, so I told her to call her friend and tell her the debt was forgiven, a gift. The forgiveness of the debt helped her remove the master-servant dynamic from the relationship. Of course, it would be better if that dynamic had never entered the scene. I also suggested 2 stipulations to the forgiveness of the debt. First, that the friend agree to help someone in need someday. And second, that she never loan friends money. Let's break the myth chain. In Joan's case, the myth chain of loaning a friend money will be broken only if they both learn their lesson. The lesson is that while it is fine to give money to friends in need if you have it, loaning them money will mess up relationships. The borrower is slave to the lender. I have dealt with hundreds of strained and destroyed families in which well-meaning people loaned money to help. Parents loan the 25-year-old newly married couple the down payment money for the first home. It all seems so nobly and nice until the daughter-in-law catches the disapproving glances at the mention of the couple's upcoming vacation. She knows the meaning of the glances, that she should check with these well-meaning, noble parents-in-law before she buys toilet paper until the loan is repaid. A lifetime of resentment can be born right there. The grandfather loans the 20-year-old $25,000 to purchase that new four-wheel drive truck he needs. Of course, the loan is at 6%, much better than Junior can get at the bank, and much better than Grandpa gets from his CD at the bank. Everyone wins, or do they? What happens when Junior loses his job and can't pay Grandpa, who is from the old school where you dig ditches till midnight if you have to in order to honor your word? Now Junior and Grandpa are at odds, so Junior sells the truck and pays Grandpa the $19,000 he gets for it. Grandpa hadn't taken a lien on the title, so he now expects broke, angry, and unemployed Junior to repay the balance of $6,000. Grandpa will never see his $6,000 or his grandson again. In some perverted twist of the myth, mixed with shame and guilt, Junior's mind somehow concocts that this is all Grandpa's fault, and he abandons the relationship. Hundreds of times I've seen relationships strained and sometimes destroyed. We all have, but we continue to believe the myth that a loan to a loved one is a blessing. It isn't. It is a curse. Don't put that burden on any relationship you care about. Myth. By co-signing a loan, I am helping a friend or relative. Truth. Be ready to repay the loan. The bank wants a co-signer for a reason, which is that they don't expect the friend or relative to pay. Think with me for a moment. If debt is the most aggressively marketed product in our culture today, if lenders must meet sales quotas for loan production, if lenders can project the likelihood of a loan's going into default with unbelievable accuracy, if all these things are true, and the lending industry has denied your friend or relative a loan, there is little doubt the potential borrower is troubled just looking for a place to happen. Yet people across America make the very unwise, yes, dumb decision to co-sign for someone else every day. We continue to believe the myth that a loan to a loved one is a blessing. The lender requires a co-signer because there is a very high statistical chance that the applicant won't pay. So why do we appoint ourselves as the generous, all-knowing, benevolent helper to override the judgment of an industry that is foaming at the mouth to lend money, and yet has deemed our friend or relative a deadbeat looking for a place to fail, or at least a loan default looking for a new? Why do we co-sign knowing full well the inherent problems? We enter this ridiculous situation only on emotion. Intellect could not take us on this ride. We know they will pay because we know them. Wrong. Parents co-sign for a young couple to buy a home. Why do they need a co-signer? Because they couldn't afford the home. Parents co-sign for a teenager to buy a car. Why would parents do this? So he can learn to be responsible. No, what the teenager has learned is if you can't pay for something, buy it anyway. The sad thing is that those of us who have co-signed loans know how they end up. We end up paying them, but only after our credit is damaged or ruined. If you co-sign for a car, the lender will not contact you when the loan is paid late every month, but your credit is damaged every month. The lender will not contact you before they repossess the car, but you now have a repo on your credit report. They will contact you to pay the difference between the debt and the below wholesale repo price they got for the car, which is called a deficit. If the lender did contact you, there is nothing you can legally do to force the sale of the car. because you don't own it. You are merely on the hook for the debt. When you co-sign on a house, you will get the same results. According to Proverbs 17:18, it's stupid to guarantee someone else's loan. CEV. That pretty well sums it up. Just like trying to bless a loved one with a loan, many people are trying to help by co-signing, and the result is damaged credit and damaged or destroyed relationships. I have co-signed loans and ended up paying them. One poor guy co-signed for me, and he ended up paying when I went broke. If you truly want to help someone, give money. If you don't have it, then don't sign up to pay it, because you likely will. I see cases of people caught in the co-signing trap every day on the Dave Ramsey Show, our radio talk show. Kevin called to complain that a mortgage company was counting his co-signing for his mom's car against him as a debt, even though she had insurance that would pay the loan if she died. Of course they counted, Kevin. It is a debt you are liable for. The mortgage company isn't worrying about her dying. They are worried about her not paying, which would require Kevin to make her car payments and then possibly not be able to pay his mortgage.